You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank, your partner in possible. Who you do business with is more important than where they're located. Bank from the comfort of your own home with Emprise Bank. Coming up, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory Podcast with Ken Swanson, Craig Stout, and Matt Lane. Coming to you on the fastest growing sports media network in Kansas City. You can find all of our channels covering all the local teams wherever you listen to podcasts or on YouTube. Just search KCSN. And now, the latest episode of the KC Laboratory.
It's a live Super Bowl edition. Do we just let him rip? Do we take over?
We might just let him rip.
Just let him mind the rest of the show?
Hey, it's live. It's the Super Bowl. We still can't hear him. It's great. So, yeah.
Lead us in, Craig. You're nailing this right now.
It's a live Super Bowl edition of the KC Laboratory. I am here with my dear pals, Kent Swanson, who may or may not be able to talk, and Matt Lane. You're back, buddy. You're back.
Hey! It's presented by Emprise Bank member FDIC, by the way.
Nailed that. Oh, that's perfect. That's the best one yet.
Just absolutely nailed the dismount on that one, buddy. Matty, my friend, it's Super Bowl week. Chiefs are getting ready to take the field on Super Bowl Media Day. I mean, we're in the thick of it. This is it. This is where we go right here. I mean, it kind of feels old hat at this point, but hey, here we are again.
This is how locked in I am. This is how you know this is still a big deal to Chiefs fans. I had no idea that Media Day started today. I had no idea which team was doing what, when they were doing what. The Chiefs are about to take to the media tent, to facilities, desks, whatever, podiums, whatever. No clue.
Yes.
Absolutely no idea that this was happening. So this is good. This is good. I am locked in. I am ready.
I have a very important question for you, Matthew. Would you consider Sunday a must-win game?
Well, I think on Sunday they should try to score more points than their opponent. I think this game sometimes, not always, but sometimes is described as win or go home.
Someone asked Nick Sirianni if this was a must-win game.
No. But, oh my goodness. I'll tell you what, Super Bowl Media Week is that week for all of that stuff. Like, there will inevitably be a question about something that happened 4 years ago to like Frank Clark or something like that. Somebody's going to people just aren't up with the times. It's very random, the types of questions that are going to get asked. So, you know, it's always a little bit fun to see what comes out.
It's one of the few media events that happen in which people get credentialed or people from the media space go to an event that they don't actually care about at all. Like, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's an event so popular and so big that people that don't care about football, that don't care about the Chiefs or Eagles, let alone know anything about it, will go to ask fun questions, that will go to ask deep questions of something that they just learned on their flight over there. Like, that's one of those events, and that's where you get these wild questions. And sometimes they're hilarious, I guess, in the back end of it. Like, you find somebody that asked a bunch of players his favorite, XYZ thing or something. It's kind of cool, but a lot of times it drags on. I mean, it's Monday and we're out here talking about Media Day on a Monday. Do a mock draft. Do something productive.
We're going to get Triumph the Insult Comic Dog asking Patrick Mahomes something.
Wood.
I don't even.
Wood? Like,
yeah.
I'm in for that.
He's asking him about wood?
Some people say we have the same voice. Do you agree? Stuff like that. Anyway, so here's the plan for this week. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Obviously, you got a bonus laboratory last night. We are going to do the Chiefs versus the Eagles offense today. We're going to wait and see what happens till the end of the week and do Chiefs offense. And if it's Juju and Kadarius, whoever, we don't know yet, we'll do the Chiefs offense versus the Eagles defense later in the week. So today is going to be focused on how the Chiefs defense can stop the Eagles offense, all things Eagles offense. We all have takes. These guys don't have takes. I don't know how they're going to manifest, but we'll find out. We're going to switch things up a little bit structurally how we do things, obviously. So we're just going to start off the top with the Eagles' kind of offensive identity, a little bit about what they are, what they do well, those kind of things. So, Maddie, the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. I think so. Yeah, we're doing it different, and we're just going to start. What are the Eagles' offense? What is this thing, right? Like, what is this beast that I know has been very efficient, very productive this year? Whether Jalen Hurts has been quarterback, is slightly less with Gardner Minshew, but they were still productive. They were still an effective offense. So what do they do? It's a loaded question.
Really is.
They run the ball very well. And they do it through multiple ways. We'll get into the run game here in a little bit. They run the ball very well through multiple ways, so they can attack you on the outside. They can attack you up the middle in space, being physical. And then they like to pair deep shots off of that. They like to find isolated one-on-ones to their good skill positions and attack those when defenses are selling out to stop this run game that can quite literally take over a game. We've seen it take over games for them to where they barely have to throw the ball. And then when they do, it ends up as Devonta Smith or AJ Brown one-on-one with a quarter safety. And that's just that is the structure of the offense. I wouldn't say it's overly a complex passing game. Actually, I think it's pretty simple. It's just the run game is complex, but also simple. It's just there's a variety to it, I guess. So we're going to work our way through it, but that's kind of what I saw from this offense when I went through it. Craig, I don't know if you saw much differently, but it's kind of what I thought.
No, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of offense. That rushing attack is so good that defensive coordinators, and I know rushing isn't as effective or, as efficient as throwing the ball, but that rushing game is so effective that it knocks defensive coordinators into single high or into quarters looks. Run defense looks out of their safeties, so much so that they can play off of some of that play action stuff. And it's not just, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, these guys that all have over 50 rushes on the year. I mean, or 50 rushing yards on the year, 50 rushes on the year. I'm so sorry. It's Jalen Hurts and his ability to break the pocket, get into space. It's not just scrambling. They have a lot of design stuff for him as well. It's very difficult. Puts a lot of stress on linebackers, puts a lot of stress on the defensive ends, makes life tough for defenses to play quickly. It really does. You've got to be so gap sound up front that anything that you do incorrectly will be punished in the run game. Now you start adding guys to the box. You start playing single high safeties. You start having those safeties run the alleyway when you're playing quarters. Now all of a sudden you're leaving your cornerbacks a little bit unprotected, and Devonta Smith and AJ Brown are so dangerous, and so is Dallas Goedert, so dangerous that they can really do some damage in ways. And so you see a lot of looks out of them. It's not just singular stuff. There's a lot of 11 personnel, with traditional 3-by-1 sets. There's a lot of 2 tight ends, 12 personnel stuff with YY looks, and they get those guys out in the route very quickly. You also have a lot of times that they're going to lean on empty a lot. They run a lot of empty looks. So from a defensive perspective, when you match up against a team that can base out of heavy, can base out of light personnel, and loves to go empty, and they can do a little bit of everything out of each one of those things. They run the ball effectively out of every one of them. They can throw the ball effectively out of every one of them. It's really, really difficult to defend.
Absolutely. And like the other little piece to this, which speaks to everything else that they do, I think you guys did a wonderful job highlighting a lot of the strengths and a lot of the things that this Eagles offense can do, but they can also beat you with easy completions in their RPO game. Sometimes they'll just play numbers out on the edge and throw a little bubble route to a Devonta Smith with AJ Brown blocking, or try to get the ball to AJ Brown, just an absolute physical freak of nature, with easy completions and manufactured touches. So it's a defense that stretches you horizontally first, I think, with a lot of the run game, with a lot of versatility in the run game, and then has shown that they have the ability to beat you vertically when they're on. When they're at their best, Jalen Hurts is hitting deep shots to the AJ Browns, to the Devonta Smiths of the world. So it's a bear of an offense when it's at its full strength. When it's humming, it's an absolute problem. Okay, so I guess what do you think their bread and butter is, though? Because we've said they're the they've got a diverse menu. They got everything to pull from. But what's the one thing, Maddie, in your opinion, that just they absolutely thrive with, that they're absolute best at?
When the Eagles are at their best, they're running the ball well, and it's not just with their running backs. It's not just with Jalen Hurts. It's not one specific thing, but it's a little bit of everybody. And this is something that hasn't been quite as prevalent since Jalen Hurts has returned from injury. He has not been as threatening of a rusher. The 49ers actually in the championship game had a lot of success, not even really holding contain on a lot of the read option looks with the defensive end, but just having them show there before squeezing down and then just daring Jalen Hurts to pull the ball and then go out athlete them on the edges. And he only really pulled off a successful play once when he did keep it doing that. So I don't know if there is more to his injuries. I thought it was a shoulder injury, but there is something that appears to be affecting his efficiency as a runner right now. So that is a hard part that they're going to have to overcome. But so they're at their best when Jalen Hurts is running the ball well, when there is actually a real threat to pull the ball on the option or hand it off. And then I think for the most part, the Eagles are best when they're getting into their zone rushing game. So once inside zone, versions of inside zone, they'll sprinkle in some outside zone, start working. They do a lot of really cool stuff with Jason Kelce, where they will get him on the move. Instead of just having him traditionally block like inside zone, they'll pin and fold. So he'll pull around the guard who down blocks a nose tackle. And then he gets up to the second level on that play side linebacker instantly. And it's just, you change the angle, you get up there quick, so the run's hitting a little farther outside. But what happens, because of his athleticism, they're allowed to run away from the backside help. They're allowed to run away from any of the pursuit running inside zone like this. Whereas traditionally, that runner would maybe be forced to the backside linebacker occasionally. So doing cool stuff like that, where they're getting the ball, they're running zone concepts, Hurts is threatening to pull it, and then that builds into their RPO game. It's all connected because that goes into the RPO game. And Hurts isn't the most accurate passer. I think we're probably about to touch on that. His ball placement's all over the place. He's not going to just drop back and dice you up. But once that RPO game, that rhythm passes start to work, now they go into hard play action. They hit these deep shots. They start pre-snap motion, and they get guys isolated one-on-one. But it all starts through that run game. And I don't know, without Hurts as a threat as a runner, if he's not going to be better than 3 yards per carry Jalen Hurts that he's been lately, I don't know how they get to their best again. He's got to be better than that as a runner to get back to what is the best version of their offense, because they need that threat. They need that extra horizontal stretch to remove somebody else from the run fit. Because if not, teams can stay in too high a little bit more. Or when they roll down, you don't have to account from him with an extra underneath defender when he's threatening to pull it. There's a lot that goes into it. So I think that's where it starts. He has to be a better runner to set them up to be the best version of themselves.
And even if he can't be a good runner, that offensive line is good enough paving the way for these running backs that they can still lean on it. I mean, this is a group that they can do a little bit of everything. Matty referenced that fold inside zone. They get Lane Johnson running that. They get Jordan Mailata running that. There's not a single guy that you as a defense can look at. Nick Bolton's not going to be sitting there saying, hey, we got a tendency on this guy. We know that they're going to pull this guy in this run. They are such a disciplined group. And a lot of that comes from Stoutland, their run game coordinator, their offensive line coach. He has orchestrated this thing so well, and they do so many things that fit well with what this group does. Jason Kelce is a smaller guy, but very powerful. You see him turning nose tackles all the time. You watch those 2 Giants games, and he's manned up against Dexter Lawrence one-on-one. His task is to shed him out of the block, wall him off. Dexter Lawrence is probably a top 6 or 7 interior defensive lineman, maybe higher. I might not be quite as high as he probably is right now. And he's turning him and moving him out of the gap easily to pave the way. That's their smallest dude. Then they got Landon Dickerson, they got Samalu, they've got Mailata, they got Lane Johnson. They got these guys on the move that can still play with power. And so they can do so many things with that. Yes, they do lean on the zone concepts a lot, but they're more exotic zone concepts. It's not your traditional, we're going to line up, combo block, climb, some real traditional inside zone looks. There's guys that are on the move all over the place. So they really force you to be disciplined with your eyes at the second level. And even if you are, and they're running a traditional run game, again, not including Jalen Hurts in this thing that I'm talking about here, they can still punish you by getting through into spaces and just by being bigger, stronger, and more able to get to those gaps before your defense can, because they run such an exotic zone scheme. I think that they can line up and play that without Jalen Hurts. Yes, I realize they are so much more dynamic with Jalen Hurts back there, able to run the ball, able to keep some of that read option stuff. But I still think that they can line up and pound the rock against any team, not just the Chiefs, but against any team, because they are going to they're going to unload the clip. We're going to see a little bit of everything from them. And so it's going to be very difficult for the second level to man up and be able to know what they need to do at every single play.
Oh, I expect them to be very much in their bag. Like, obviously, like, this is an unload. I mean, you unload the clip to the end of the year. You're at the finish line. You go throw everything you haven't thrown at. And
is this a must-win game, Kent? Would you call this a must-win game then?
I would classify this as a must-win game. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And I think this group, they're sorry, I lost my train of thought again. I'm trying to figure out if I'm ready to talk about this or not. There's something.
No, you're not. You got to save that for another segment or two.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I
agree with you, Jay. I agree with you that I think that they can run a diverse run offense without Jalen Hurts services. Let's just leave it at that. I do agree. I don't think they need his activity in the run game at a high clip to necessarily blow the doors off. I think they have enough that they still present some problems. But Jalen Hurts at full capacity is a very big piece that, where if Jalen Hurts didn't have a shoulder injury, I think they'd run him into the ground this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think need is definitely a strong word. Just in terms of them being the best version of their offense, I think there has to be a real threat. And I don't think teams are scared of the Jalen Hurts pull and run right now, or at least the 49ers weren't. The Giants seemed to respect it a little bit more, but I think as that game went on, I mean, they were getting the break speed off of them, but they weren't exactly doing it. So it's just, I don't think it's a need, but if they want to be the best version of their offense, like, he's got to be more effective than he's been.
We'll talk about it. I'm trying to pick my spots here. We're only 18 minutes into the show. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate everybody watching right now. Where they struggle, it's not like this is a perfect juggernaut. They are, there's the fun stat: the Chiefs are the number one offensive DVOA offense in football, or is it EPA? And the Eagles are number 2, but the difference between the Chiefs and the Eagles is the same as the difference between number 2 and number 17. So they're a good offense. They're just not the Chiefs offense. They have their struggles. Biggest struggle for you, Matthew? You're muted.
Before
Your biggest
now
struggle,
that I'm done being muted and struggling, before we talk about the Eagles struggle, should we hear from our great pals over at DraftKings?
Probably.
Are you ready for the biggest Sunday in sports? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 57, has all the Super Bowl action you need. New customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, all customers can get in on the Super Bowl 57 excitement with DraftKings Happy Hour Super Boosts. Check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app every day between 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to see what prop bet will be boosted. I have been loving these Super Bowl 57 prop bets. I've got a lot of them. Go check out the Octopus bet. I've got some money on that one. Go put some down on that. Here's what you got to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet just $5 on Super Bowl 57 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See the show notes for details.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're watching. I'm not sure I should have carried us into this because, I mean, Matthew's the one that remembered to do it. So maybe Craig, you and I, we'll just leave. We'll let Maddie take it from here.
Would watch.
Craig's been on his A game. I don't know why you're coming at Craig.
I don't know.
Okay.
Let's talk about this. Where does this offense struggle? Because it's not like they're perfect.
You want to start? I feel like you want to start.
No, just
go. No, you need to start this, buddy.
Is this where I do it? Is this where I do it? I think so. You're teasing it a lot right now. I think you got to do it.
I don't think Jalen Hurts has been good since the injury. I think he's been actively bad. And I think if he plays like he did in the NFC Championship game, the Chiefs are going to win by 2 scores. I think he was awful against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I want to give him a ton of credit because I genuinely like Jalen Hurts. I think he's a very good football player. I think he's had an outstanding season. I think he's made terrific strides as a player. But he does not look the same since he came back from injury. And he better thank God that A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are bailing him out on some of the most horrific throws that I've seen. Wide open throws, easy completions. He is making look incredibly difficult for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, to the point where I don't think it's a sustainable offense. I don't think that version of Jalen Hurts, the passer, is remotely good enough to win this football game. So you better hope, if you're an Eagles fan, that the shoulder's better, because the ball placement has always been a little bit shoddy. He's had a lot of success downfield this year relative to prior years, which has been a big boon for his game. But if they're not going to run him at the same clip and he's not able to throw with the same kind of success that he has, I think that's real problematic for the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's some fun stats from the Casey Laboratory analytics department. Very in-depth. Jalen Hurts is averaging 6 yards per pass attempt since coming back from the injury, and he's averaging.
I need more chutzpah in this.
He's averaging 2.96 yards per carry. That's all you're getting out of me, Matthew. But he's a different player.
It's like Rant Swanson, but like you left the energy out of it, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I don't have
Jalen.
That's because I like Jalen. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Okay.
He's not running mouth like Joey Burrow, who is an inferior quarterback to Patrick Mahomes in every single way.
Fair. Okay. I generally agree with what Kent was saying. I texted him earlier and I was like, oh wow, Jalen Hurts doesn't look so great throwing the ball. And he goes, what? You're watching the NFC Championship game? Was the first thing he said to me with no context. And I was like, yeah, he is spraying the ball all over the place. Every catch is very difficult unless it's a 5-yard, timing route where the ball is out immediately. He doesn't look super comfortable right now. He is spraying the field every time he has to drop back and throw anything that is not perfectly on a short set kind of rhythm pass. Other fun stuff. You want to add extra stat to it. Over the past 3 games, he is 4 of 17 on passes traveling over 10 yards.
Wow.
Yes, it's really 5 of 17, but we're not going to count the Devonta Smith incompletion that wasn't challenged. But still, 4 of 17. That's bad. That's not good. When he has to drop back and throw the ball downfield, this offense struggles since returning from injury. I would say even before that wasn't their bread and butter, but they got by with it versus some teams that gave them what they wanted, that let them get A.J. Brown matched up one-on-one with certain corners, that let Devontae Smith get free releases and just become a great route runner over the middle of the field. But when they played better defenses, and especially post-injury here, they have really, really struggled to just have a consistent passing attack. Everything builds off the running game, in which you can't remove it. The running game is going to be there. It's going to be part of it. That's absolutely there. We're going to talk about how the Chiefs can attempt to stop the running game if they can. But we're talking about when the Eagles offense struggles. It's when Hurts has to throw the ball accurately. It's when Hurts has to get from read 1 to read 2, and then what he does. Because as soon as he gets out read 2, he wants to move. It doesn't matter if he's getting hit or not. He wants to move. The amount of times he throws fadeaway passes into tight coverage because he doesn't want to get hit right now, it's bad. There has definitely been not the best QB performance coming from the Eagles as of late. And I think it's most notable when it's just a pure drop back passing situation right now. So if you're the Chiefs, you want to make the Eagles be the worst, stop them on first down. The Eagles don't care. They'll still run on second down. Stop them on second down. And then once you get into that third and long, that third and passing down, boy, that ball, who knows where it's going, especially if you make him push the ball over 10 yards. Like, it's really bad right now pushing the ball over 10 yards. He wants to throw the ball towards the middle of the field right now. Like, he's actually done decent at that with the touch throws, because when he's lobbing stuff down the sidelines right now, he's missing everybody. He is just missing everybody. And it's just, I felt a lot better after watching the Eagles' last few offensive games, seeing how difficult it was for him to throw the ball accurately.
And
welcome to the club.
I'm gonna bring it back here, because I went and I watched plenty of stuff right before he got hurt, and man, he was really good. Like, he was really good, and that injury happened in week 15. Like, it is hard to have an offensive identity all year long that relies on hallmarks and foundations, and then having that shaken by an injury. It really is difficult. We as Chiefs fans know that. Patrick Mahomes can't move in the pocket as much, can't put his whole base into the throw. it becomes difficult to run some of the things that you want to run. That's what's happening with the Eagles right now. And that's why they're leaning on the run game a little bit more. To Maddie's point, some of the ways that he's navigating pressure, he's just chucking it away. He's bailing quickly. There's a lot of times where, because again, this Eagles offensive line is really, really, really good. And they're good at picking up blitzes, but you really got to throw a little bit extra at him. Have like a cat blitz or something like that, something overloaded where you're forcing Jalen Hurts to take care of the blitzer. Early on in the year, he just boot right out of it, work his way into the flat, find an open man, and he was destroying people with that. Right now, he's not. Like he's bailing away from it the moment that he's seeing the blitz coming, like even before it's getting in his lap, he is bailing out of the pocket, trying to get out in the flat, trying to make something happen. And his accuracy out there has not been the same because he just can't put his shoulder in it. It's clearly bothering him right now. And so, yes, you want to see them struggle a little bit. Put him in a passing script. Chiefs get up big and can take the run game a little bit out of this. They're not going to take it fully out of it because that's the Eagles' offense, but take the run game partially out of this. I think that bodes really well for the Chiefs. Yes, it's A.J. Brown. Yes, it's Devonta Smith. Yes, it's Dallas Goedert. Those guys are awesome. But right now, asking Jalen Hurts to line up, evaluate the field, deal with pressure, and try and deliver an accurate on-time throw has not been what it was earlier on in the season.
And there's some unknowns here because, what does 2 weeks do for that shoulder? Who knows? Does it help him, be able to throw the ball downfield a little bit more consistently? And if they don't feel like he can throw the ball downfield as consistently as he was before the injury, how do they mitigate that? What are they going to do? What are their counter punches going to be to, we can't get the ball down the field. We can't push the ball down the field aggressively. It's not working. We're missing, what are the fastball or what are the changeups they're given to that look, right? And, I think there's plenty that they still have in their bag. Maddie, when we were talking, I think it was when we were talking about, the props and we talked about AJ Brown and his completion or how many catches he gets, right? Who's to say that they don't try to just manufacture some more opportunities out on the edge, easy completions behind the line of scrimmage to try to just help mitigate that a little bit? Like that's where I think it's the more you think about that, Matthew, I think that's where it makes a lot of sense is like, just get the ball into the hands of these guys a little bit. I think you could even see some of the game management stuff with Jalen Hurts change a little bit too. We talk about first, second down and third down defense is going to be so important. I think it's more important because you don't want to get those things into fourth and manageable. So is Jalen Hurts more content instead of throwing the ball down the field to get half on third down because they know that they're willing to be a little bit more aggressive on fourth down? These are some things that I think you can kind of look at and say maybe Jalen Hurts adjusts his game plan a little bit just to kind of, or they adjust the game plan for Jalen Hurts a little bit just to try to be more mindful of some of the things and how they're going to approach the rest of this game. Because I think they could. These are the unknowns. These are things you have to be a little bit prepared for at least because they could throw these things or could approach this game differently depending on what they feel. And they're the only ones that know about Jalen Hurts' situation. The same way the Chiefs are the only people that know about Mahomes and Kadarius and Juju, like all those guys.
No, that's true. And it's 2 weeks off. And like I've kind of said, this whole process, you're giving two of the best coaching staffs in the NFL 2 weeks to prepare and devise some kind of game plan to prepare them for this game so it can be entirely different than anything else we've seen, right? There's no guarantee it's going to be the same game plan from any side of the ball in this game. So maybe Jalen Hurts is feeling a little bit better. Maybe he knows it's the end of the line. He can just start untorquing some stuff, and maybe he can actually push the ball. I'll still contend, I don't think he's the most accurate passer in general as is. I don't think he is the guy that's going to drive the football 20 yards downfield and really threaten some of the holes that the Chiefs secondary has shown throughout the years. Like, it's not a lot, but like sometimes they're there. It does require a certain level of arm talent to get there, to put some of these passes where they have to. The Chiefs want to play a lot of their cover 2 zone. That's a tight throw sometimes, especially when you have somebody like Trent McDuffie who's really good at that spacing if he's the one on the outside, or L'Jarius Sneed and Jalen Watson's athleticism there on the outside. That's a tight window to hit that throw. Is Hurts the guy that is going to consistently pick it apart? I don't know, even when he's healthy, if he's that guy. So I do think that is what the Chiefs have to aim. You make Jalen Hurts beat you. You make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm. That's where the Eagles are going to struggle the most. I don't mean that, and I don't mean that to put the Eagles offense down. I don't mean that as a Jalen Hurts isn't the runner-up for the MVP, that he wasn't the second best, the second most important player, quarterback, whatever in the NFL this year. It's just we're talking about how you beat them. You make Jalen Hurts beat you with his arm right now, because I don't think the most recent track record says that he's going to do that.
I think when you look at the way that this offense is constructed, Maddie, you referenced the fact that it's not especially exotic. There's not a ton of stuff out there. Yes, it is in the run game, but in the passing offense, it's not. Every time they go empty, the Eagles are running some kind of pick route. And it's usually with Zach Pascal. It's usually trying to get guys into space, get Devonta Smith or A.J. Brown with a nice, clean look. And a lot of times they'll line those two guys up on the same side. You'll have A.J. Brown run a slant, Devonta Smith run a corner route over the top of him, and they'll try and pick the receiver, try and pick pick the cornerback, try and get one of those guys there. Makes it easier on Jalen Hurts to hit that guy. You watch Eagles games, you see guys running wide open in the secondary. You're like, man, how the hell did A.J. Brown get that open? That's how. They're really good at orchestrating a lot of these, and they lean on that a lot. And these receivers are really good at not making it obvious. I get, like, it's very clearly a pick, but they're running a hitch, and they'll stand there and they'll turn around, they'll kind of stick their ass out into the cornerback, and they'll just make it difficult. They're not going to see. We've seen Travis Kelce sometimes get a little aggressive on some of these and actually physically grab like a corner or something like that as they go by. They're really well coached on a lot of those. So you're going to see a lot of stuff for Jalen Hurts that is open. He's throwing to a lot of open receivers and guys that are running free and clear in the middle of the field, on the sideline. You know, it's not just going to be bubbles and things like that. So even if you are making him a thrower, the passing scheme is good enough to where he's going to be able to throw to some open guys on occasion. However, it is a little bit predictable. They do get into some of the same core concepts. You do see a lot of the same route distributions. Surely a guy like Steve Spagnuolo, who is a master game planner with an extra week to look at that, can try and rectify some of that. And if that's the case, Jalen Hurts isn't going to just throw the ball, chuck it up there and say, hey, A.J. Brown, go get it. This isn't Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins and just saying, hey, go get it. He'll eat the ball. Like, he won't put it in harm's way there. So good coverage can also, on top of this, just completely eliminate what Jalen Hurts could do there. And as we mentioned already, he's a little bit skittish with that shoulder, doesn't want to take hits. You got a guy that's being heated up by the blitz and a guy that's struggling with some tight coverage. He is going to eat a lot of plays that maybe you would see another quarterback throw away.
Hey, thanks everybody watching right now. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. We have so much coverage coming at you this week for the rest of Super Bowl week, so make sure you're checking that out. All right, so any specific matchups that you're paying attention to in this game, Matthew?
Yeah, the Chiefs linebackers versus the interior offensive line. It's very specifically Jason Kelce. I think it's actually very specific. Like this matchups thing that I pitched you guys wasn't just about player to player, but Jason Kelce getting to the second level, whether straight climbing or doing some of this fold blocking, pulling around the guard or even pulling around the outside versus the Chiefs linebackers, because he's an elite athlete. He gets up on linebackers faster than any offensive lineman I have ever seen play the game of football. He is instantly on top of linebackers. So you kind of have, I don't think you can sit back and wait for him. I don't think the Chiefs linebackers, I don't think the Chiefs run defense is dominant enough on the defensive line to sit there and just eat up everybody else, to win everything else 4-on-4 and let Kelce get up there to that play side backer. I think that's actually going to spell disaster for them. I think that's going to be terrible. I said last week that I don't think they can play the same way they did against the Bengals, where the backers are just crashing downhill and everything and take advantage of the Eagles making mistakes in communication. I'm wrong. They should. That's exactly what they should do. It's not for the same reason, though. You're not going to get, Lane Johnson to forget to block a defensive end. You're not going to get Mariota to just let Frank Clark stand there completely free and clear in the gap to make the tackle. But what you can do is you can catch a Jason Kelce who is strong. He can dominate any block, but you catch him before he gets on top of you 5 yards downfield and creates that alley. You catch somebody before they're climbing up there. You insert extra bodies into the line of scrimmage, not 5 yards behind it, because they are going to get up there. They are going to out leverage you if you let them get into their bag. I think the Chiefs linebackers should probably be just as aggressive as they were last week. They should be just as aggressive as they were against the Bengals. Different path to success, but that's what they should do. And then I guess like the extra addition to that, I think the safeties are going to play such a big role in fitting these runs. And I don't want them to do it from the box. I want them to do it from deep. I want you to run the alley post snap. I want you to rotate down post snap, change the look of those climbing offensive linemen and insert late. Because if you're already in the box, they're going to find the right way to account for you. They're really smart. They will account for you with an RPO look, with Kelsey getting to you, with a stock block from a receiver. You roll down late though, and all of a sudden put yourself at 7-8 yards right before the snap or as the snap is happening. That gets a lot harder. So I think that's the first matchup I got my eyes on, is just how you stop Jason Kelsey from dominating your linebackers.
I mean, just big Justin Reed game in that regard. Mine is how the Eagles running backs are going to pick up these free rushers. Steve Spagnuolo is really good at getting guys like Willie Gay, Justin Reed, L'Jarius Sneed, lots of free looks as blitzers. He does a good job of messing with protections. And this kind of leans on Jason Kelsey as well, because Kelsey has been trusted throughout all this time to call these protections, to handle all of that stuff. Jalen Hurts has some blitz pickup protections and things like that, but they have admitted like Jason Kelsey does a lot of the work on that. And it makes sense. He's been in the league forever. He's seen everything. But it is also one of those situations where if you've got a guy creeping off of the edge, that's where the quarterback's got to step in. He's got to shift the protections. He's got to change it. He's got to call that stuff. And so getting those running backs to kick out and pick up Willie Gay Jr., pick up L'Jarius Sneed is going to be incredibly important here. I've been talking this entire podcast about how the blitz is really giving Jalen Hurts problems right now because he doesn't want to take those hits at the moment with his current shoulder the way that it is. Again, could be different in the Super Bowl, 2 weeks off. We'll see. But the lasting images that we have of Jalen Hurts, he does not want to be blitzed right now. Steve Spagnuolo has some of the most exotic blitz packages in the NFL. He is going to bring free rushers. It's just going to happen. This Eagles offensive line is really good, can pick a lot of stuff up. It's going to happen. So it's got to be, can that running back pick him up? Can they get a guy to protect Jalen Hurts a little bit more? Or are they going to do what they've largely done on offense this year and get that running back out in the route quickly? Because if that's the case, then Jalen Hurts is going to take a lot of hits. He's going to take a lot of instances where he's going to end up on the ground. And with them trying to get the ball out quickly, those hits will add up very, very rapidly. So I'm looking to see, are they going to leave that running back in? Are they going to try and keep that personal protector in there for Jalen Hurts? Try and pick up these Chiefs blitzers that we know that Steve Spagnuolo is going to get free on them.
Last week, we heard one of the biggest points of emphasis for the secondary was winning at the catch point, playing at the catch point, playing through the hands, playing the ball. And we just spent all this time talking about the inconsistencies down the field of Jalen Hurts. I still think that that's a crucial piece of this game, regardless of if Jalen Hurts is particularly accurate down the field, regardless of anything really, because I think there's a few things that are really important. The Chiefs can't get into DPI penalties when they do try to take their shots down the field.
Oh.
You can't give a quarterback that's struggling to throw down the field freebies like that. We saw what happened for the 49ers last week, where some good luck got them. It's not apples to apples. Good luck got them into the red zone and they finished. You have to force this team to drive the length of the field, and you got to reduce explosive plays through the air for sure. And so I think winning at the catch point cleanly is crucial for this game, regardless of how Jalen Hurts is performing, because all it takes is one really bad throw to give them a 40-yard penalty. It's on these young corners to win. I think it's these young corners matching up against very good football players out on the edge at the receiver position. So that's a big matchup I'm watching, specifically some of these downfield shots, because I think that's about the extent of the explosives they're going to be able to generate. And if they can't do that, good things are going to happen for this football team. Maddie, you said you had one more matchup before we get out of here.
Yeah, and it's related to what you just said. So this is perfect. It's defending a post route. Like, I think we're talking a little bit about how Jalen Hurts has struggled with his accuracy, since the injury and stepping into throws, especially versus pressure. So you want him throwing fades. You want him attempting to throw go balls down the sideline, because AJ Brown's a super strong guy. Devontae Smith's one of the most technically gifted receivers I've ever seen, right? But I think your margin for error on the sideline, because the sideline is a defender you can't beat. It doesn't move. It's always going to be there. You're reducing the area that Hurts has to throw the ball. What's a lot easier is when you get one of these guys, specifically it's been Devonta Smith as of late, but early in the year it was AJ Brown on post routes. When they clear out the safeties, they run a lot of Mills type concepts, or they'll run some like Kyle Shanahan burner concepts where they're going to drag a backside safety or a safety away from a receiver off, and then they'll get their receiver running a post route matched up on the same side safety by himself. What happens is either the safety gets beat over the top and there's just infinite space to throw the ball, or you flatten that post route out. It kind of becomes almost a deep dig, and Hurts doesn't have to drive the ball super hard, but he can put the ball over the middle of the field with plenty of space to run. They're really good at creating that matchup on usually the backside of a play. So you have to be ready to defend that, whether that is playing man coverage and trusting a Snead, a Watson, a McDuffie, whoever, to run with that post route, and then just forcing Hurts to throw what you hope is a tight window throw, or having the correct kind of rotations in. Maybe it's more Tampa 2 stuff. I don't actually hate Tampa 2 type drops from a Mike linebacker or somebody against Jalen Hurts. I think it's Fred Warner, so take it with a grain of salt. But the 49ers took away a lot of his first read. And then when we talked about it, you take away that first read, he's a little skittish right now. He doesn't want to sit in the pocket. So I don't hate some Tampa 2. Not even doesn't have to be cover 2. You can just drop somebody deep down the middle of the field and play man coverage or something. I asked Steve Spagnuolo how many times he has Bolton dropping 20 yards and not playing cover 2, right? So I just finding a way to defend that backside deep post very specifically that they turn into a dig or more of a seam route based on the leverage. They're very good at hitting that. Find a way to defend it. I think that'll go a long way to shutting down their explosive passing game.
I have one more matchup to watch. It's a little bit of a Matty answer, and then we'll get into players to watch real quick before we get out of here. But, and not teasing this for the Substack, you guys have talked a lot. I heard Craig mention it. This game needs to turn into Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts. And if the Chiefs can get that to happen, I think good things are going to happen. I think if the Chiefs can find a way to take that run game, limit it, and turn this into a drop back game versus these two, that's a big formula for success where the game doesn't have to be close. It doesn't have to be close. I think that's the path to success for this team. Players to watch, Matthew, you go first.
Ooh, don't like going first. It's the easy answer.
You always go
first.
Obvious.
Not a players to watch.
Never at this.
Oh, that's right. It's always Craig, isn't it?
This isn't even a bit. This is actively not going first. I mean, there's one answer. Come on. It's the playoff legend himself, Frank the Shark Clark, playing defensive end, going for number 2 all time in the sack record. I'm saying it in jest because I think he always shows up big in the playoffs, and I think he will in the Super Bowl too. That watching him, that little like NFL Films clip of him and Andy Reid after the game was amazing. But I think the defensive ends play a huge role here. Watching how the 49ers and then the Giants played the Eagles so differently, and I think that led to some of that success or lack of success early in the game for the Eagles. The 49ers defensive ends at first were getting super far upfield, exploding upfield, doing their DeMeco Ryans defensive end thing. As they stopped and played a little bit more reactionary and just tried to own that contain gap, just tried to hold their gap before getting into the rush and then playing a power rush behind it, they started having a lot more success shutting down the Eagles' run game for a while. I mean, until the game became useless with no quarterback, they were doing a good job of slowing down the running game, making Hurts feel uncomfortable. And I think so much of it was holding that edge, holding that contain. Like I said, make Jalen Hurts beat Frank Clark or Carlos Dunlap pulling the ball. Make him try to escape outside on a defensive end that is holding his ground, keeping his spot. Because I think that's going to be a key. So the defensive ends for the Chiefs are going to be a huge part of this game. Frank Clark's the leader, the guy there, especially in the playoffs. And hey, the good news, Steve Spagnuolo's defenses throughout his entire career have been built through the defensive end. So that's good.
Yeah, especially smart ones that can read the read option really quickly and do something about it. Both those guys are good at it. I mean, I got to go with the lowest hanging fruit possible. Chris Jones,
do it,
baby.
I haven't even talked about him yet.
The man got the albatross
talking about Indianapolis like that, unbelievable.
Off of him, like he did. He got rid of the goose egg. Now it's gonna come. Now it's gonna happen. And so I expect Chris Jones in a Super Bowl, as he has done all year long, but especially in the 2 games in the playoffs. He was the best player on the field for either team in that Cincinnati Bengals game, and he might have been in that Jacksonville game as well. He has been the Chiefs' postseason MVP on a team that has Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce out there. He has been unstoppable. This is the best test that he is going to see in this postseason. This is a very good interior offensive line. They are going to do everything in their power with Jalen Hurts to move the pocket, shift it away from Chris Jones. They're going to try like hell to take Chris Jones away. He is going to get all the focus in the world. He's probably going to get 6 total one-on-one matchups. What he does in those 6 one-on-one matchups may very well dictate how this game goes. If he has 5 quick wins in 6 one-on-one matchups, it's over. This team will cause so much havoc in the backfield for the Eagles. So Chris Jones can single-handedly ruin this in a small number of attempts, just as he has all postseason long, and just as I believe he will in the Super Bowl.
All right, so my player to watch is Nick Bolton. I think for a variety of reasons. I think he's a guy that will be put in conflict plenty. I think the Eagles will try to put him conflict run and pass when it comes to just everything. Like, he's got a big task ahead of him. He's got a lot on his plate trying to read things. That Craig, what were you going to say? I can see it on your face.
They do it with every linebacker. They did it with Fred Warner.
They do it with Fred Warner. And it's going to be a big challenge for him. It's no easy task. And so I think defensively, I think he plays a huge role in, how he's able to navigate that. How Spags helps him out a little bit, because there's some things that, you probably don't want him doing, that he might get put in a situation he might have to try to take something away he doesn't want to. So how does Steve Spagnuolo support him? How does Steve Spagnuolo help him? But I think Bolton's got to have a big game. And if he does this, it's over. I genuinely believe that. That's going to do it for the defensive preview of the Super Bowl, Chiefs defense versus Eagles offense. We will be back on Thursday to talk Chiefs offense versus Eagles defense, predict this game. I wonder where we're going to go with this one. But we appreciate everybody hanging out. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. So much stuff going on at KCSN all week. We'll be here breaking it all down. Thanks y'all so much. We'll catch you later.